love that intro. You know, I have or had
Thanks.
2 of our hoodies.
Mm-hmm.
So one that I wear, and I wear it often, you know, in the colder months. But the second one I gave away because we kind of mentioned this on our show. There were so many people that like wanted the hoodies, clearly wanted them, because then you brought them back, and because we received so many emails of people saying, "Hey, I didn't buy one for whatever reason." Mm-hmm. So I gave one to a friend of mine because she failed to get one. Actually, I think her husband was supposed to buy her one.
Yeah, but he
he did what so many other people did. They didn't think that the sale was actually going to end, and so he didn't get one. I tried to do my buddy a solid, and so I gave him the second one I had that I wasn't wearing. I hadn't wore it yet, but this was an extra large men's hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
So what backfired, like he's like, oh, I'm going to be like super husband because she's going to get a hoodie that she really wanted. But when he gave it to her, it's for like a giant man. And so she was a little upset. Like, you think I'm this is what size you think I am?
You think I'm fat?
You think I'm Colonel size?
Yeah, that's what. That's
extra crispy Colonel.
Yeah, good for your buddy.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm going to text him and tell him, hey, they're selling again. Get one. Right the ship, my friend.
It's selling like hotcakes, my friend.
We've been looking for an excuse to talk about MindHunter, and you found it for us, because this is a subject that we bring up from time to time when we have our little weekly phone calls.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so super busy with the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we started, I don't think I ever thought we'd be this busy, because we never thought.
When we started, we weren't this busy. We were actually doing the show, and we weren't this busy.
Yeah, but I think it's because we didn't think it would take off.
Right.
Like, I kind of thought, like, maybe some people will listen and we'll keep doing our jobs and keep finding our way through this world, but there'll be this other thing that we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now we're doing 3 shows a week.
Yeah, 3 shows a week. And then on top of that, I mean, the amount of emails, and then keeping up with the store and the websites, and then now that we've covered so many cases, now keeping up with the updates on the old cases.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is just out of hand. I mean, we get messages every day that we can't even get to. So, yeah. So, but that being said, Netflix has become one of my best friends.
Well, because it's just sitting there waiting for you whenever you're ready to turn it on and enjoy something to watch. It's just all kind of parked right there for you. I'm a big Prime guy myself. I like the only confusing thing for me is I get confused on whether things are on Netflix or Prime for future viewing. So I have to do a lot of hunting and searching around.
Well, I love the fact that they're small series. They might be an 8-parter or a 10-parter, so you can really dive into the show within, let's say, a week. If you have a slow week and you're going to relax. And plus, too, what I like to do is when I'm working on the music for the shows, I like to turn something on, watch it while I start creating some music, and then I'll pause the music.
Or even just have something in the background, like so you don't feel like you're in an empty room.
Yeah, and I loved Atypical, which was on Netflix. That wasn't crime-related at all. I really liked Ozark a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not that type of show, suspense, kind of mobster type shows. Not into them, but Ozark was fabulous. Jason Bateman is a goddamn genius. And then MindHunter, which I thought, okay, because this storyline, was in book. It's been in movie form. It's been hinted at in different movie forms. I didn't think I was going to like it. First episode, I was like, yeah, main character don't like.
Mm-hmm.
By the second episode, hooked.
Well, and you like the main character now.
Yeah, I mean, he's not my favorite character on the show, but
okay,
the older cop is absolutely my favorite.
Bill, what's his character's name? Bill Dench or something like that.
Something like that. And then
Bill Tench. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the cars. We've talked about it before, but it's like the time period of the 70s, and they're constantly going from town to town, so they're renting cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you constantly get to see these different cars that you haven't seen in years and years.
This is probably a show that I've recommended, I don't know, it feels like to everybody that, I love getting into those conversations of, what should I watch? Or I just finished this and it was great, and now I'm looking for something else. I love those conversations. So this one, probably other than True Detective season 1.
Which is like my favorite. True Detective season 1 is probably the best thing that's ever been on TV. But it's also like 20 some episodes. So it's
a commitment.
Yes, here's the bad thing about Netflix though. Is I had a friend, Emma from Australia, tell me to watch Gypsy. I was like 3 episodes in. It was a pile of dog shit. And then but then I needed to know the ending.
Right.
So I fast forward through, I'd start the episode, fast forward through the song. They'd start talking. I kind of know what's going on, so I'd fast forward. And then I just basically fast forward through the next 5 episodes or whatever. And then you get to the end, and it was still a huge pile of dog shit. I was still mad at her for suggesting that show.
I was talking with somebody Friday night, and they said they were watching something. I can't remember the name of it. I purposely didn't remember the name of it because he was like, "It's no good," and I'm like, "Okay, well, why did you mention that?" You know what I mean? We were all standing around talking about stuff we're watching, and he goes, "It's no good," and I go, "Oh, did you bail on it?" He goes, "Well, I'm about 4.5 episodes into it, and I keep returning and trying to make my way through it." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "I had a couple people tell me it was good. I'm waiting for it to get good." Right. How long are you going to wait for it to get good?
Yeah. And I think the weird thing too is when it's a 8-part series or a 10-part series, some of the shows like Ozark, because of the style of the show, it's a suspense show. There's a lot of drama. Every episode is kind of like, oh shit. And then sometimes these 8-part, 10-part series, there's a couple slower episodes. But when there's some really dynamic episodes with the other series, I think it kind of hurts the format.
Well, we've been waiting for MindHunter to come back on, and for those of you not aware of what it is, it's weird because I think a good amount of our garage friends listen or watch MindHunter, and if they don't, I think it would work well for a lot of them. But the general description I give it, the most plain and simple, is it's like the more adult version, more true crime version of Criminal Minds. I think that's on CBS or one of the big networks.
I think the thing here is, especially, like we were talking about earlier, being so engrossed into the podcast and having to kind of put ourselves in the true crime world almost every day, whether we want to or not. It was kind of a weird thing because I was getting burnt out on true crime. And even though it's a true crime show, it's not a true crime show. It's a crime show. But I think because that it's fiction, that it kind of reboosted me into what we were doing. And realizing that, the premise of the show basically is that there's these 2 detectives, these 2 FBI agents, and they have to go around telling people and police departments about different techniques that the FBI uses. And that's their main job. And on top of that, they're starting to try to look at the idea of using psychology and profiling these killers so they can get ahead of them. So when they're looking for suspects and stuff, that they can use psychology. And it's kind of about how the FBI starts implementing that into their tactics.
Well, yeah, and trying to one, get ahead of the curve in the sense of if they have a serial murder situation, how do they investigate it? But also catching up in the way that, look, the FBI figured out at some point that the 1900s, what that brought with the with cars and new technology, what that brought was the huge increase of stranger on stranger crimes and murders,
right?
And then also more serial murders. And I was listening to somebody give a talk last week, and he referred to the I think he chose the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He said that 30-year span was like the golden age of serial killers. And he was talking about how many more of them and how more active they were back then as compared to today. And then he gave his thoughts on why he thought that was. Why did we see such a jump and increase during that? And we don't have to rely on memory too much to start thinking of a lot of the very famous serial killers that came around that we became aware of during those 30 years.
Bundy, Gacy,
yeah.
Dahmer.
And so this is their thought of, and the true story of how the FBI decided, hey, let's teach investigative tools to different local law enforcement officers and departments so they can learn how to investigate murders better and have increased their solve rate. But then on top of that, it's these guys, just a couple guys along with the psychiatrist. I can't recall her name, but it's a small group of people that said, you know what we should do is interview the ones that we already know about. Go to the prisons and let's talk to them and let's figure out, get inside their minds a little bit, inside their brains, and figure out what's going on with them, what makes them tick, what makes them kill, how can we catch them faster, all that kind of stuff. And the interesting thing, and the thing that you and I kind of joked about, which was so weird, because season 1, the guy that played, I should have jotted down some of these actors' names and stuff, but the guy that played Ed Kemper, you and I, it was weird because you kind of want to, he seems so nice and friendly when he plays that character that you want to kind of just sit at a kitchen table with him and eat pizza and shoot the shit. But then you have to remind yourself, hey, this dude in real life killed 10 people.
Well, I didn't have to remind myself because I think he does a good job of being
scary at times.
Yeah.
Just the size of the man.
Pure size of big boy.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely but he does such a great job, and there's so many great acting moments in the show. And the thing that's really interesting is, like we were saying before, I think when we're talking about it, I was confused because they were interviewing actual killers, and if you look at the Ed Kemper interview in MindHunter, it's pretty much the same as it is if you look at the real interview on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost the same words.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that the little cases in between that they were solving were actual real cases.
Well, and you remember the one with The Rock, where they brought The Rock into the interrogation room, and that was the main character's idea to do that. It's interesting, and I tell you what, I recommend anybody read the actual book MindHunter by John Douglas, because that's where a lot of these stories in season 1 come from, or actual cases that he worked. And I believe, and I've said this before, I believe Bill Tench, that character, the older gentleman, who I do enjoy him very much. He really holds the show for me, but I believe he's playing Robert K. Ressler, who was another very famous, accomplished FBI profiler and agent who helped solve and work so many cases throughout his lengthy career. But so a bit long overdue, it feels like, for me anyway, wanting season 2 to come out, because I mean, I've been looking forward to this since I wrapped up watching season 1, so much so that I watched season 1 twice. And so I found an article, Captain. I thought we could just kind of chat through it here, but it's somebody asking, this this place asking questions about when to expect season 2, what's going on with season 2 of Mindhunter.
Yeah, I think that's the tough thing with the Netflix series is that first they have to put them out, and then they have to see if they're well received, and not just well watched.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because something's watched a bunch doesn't mean that anybody's going to watch season 2 if people think it's a pile of dog shit.
Well, this article, this is the first time I actually saw this in print. This was something I had heard before, but this kind of backs it up. They were saying that Mindhunter season 2, it was already renewed to do a second season before this first season even came out. So meaning whoever made this thing and that Netflix itself, the bigwigs there probably have decided, hey, it's that good. We're going to trust this and we're going to put out at least 2 seasons of it to see if it takes hold. I think season 1 was successful enough that I think they're feeling good that they already renewed for season 2 before season 1 came out. Now the release date, that's what I want to know. When is it going to be released? And according to this article, they are referencing an old interview with people working on Mindhunter who said that it will be out next year. And these people took that to mean late next year. I couldn't remember where I had read this or seen this, but you and I had this conversation before. I swear I saw somewhere, I read somewhere months and months ago that it was slated for November of 2018 for season 2. But there's technically no actual confirmed release date at this moment.
Right. So, yeah, they talked to Cameron Britton, I believe is his name, that played Ed Kemper.
Okay.
And I think they interviewed 4 different serial killers within the show. It was Ed Kemper, Monty Russell?
Russell?
Yeah, well, it's RISS.
He's the one that he was killing girls in his truck or out, chasing them into the woods from his truck.
And then Richard Speck.
He was the nurse killer in Illinois.
Yeah.
He was more of a one-shot guy,
Who was the shoe guy?
Jerry Brudos.
Yeah, the actor that played him, Happy Anderson is his name.
His real name's Happy Anderson?
Yeah, that guy did a great job.
He did a great job because he's so damn creepy.
Well, the thing is with Cameron Britton doing such a great job with Ed Kemper, I think Happy Anderson kind of got overlooked.
I agree.
I think out of those two, you could argue though that he would go round for round with him.
Oh yeah.
I remember when he came on, because he's a big dude too.
Yeah.
That guy, oh man, I'm having flashbacks of what he did to those shoes.
Well, and all 4 of those people that we just referenced are real life serial killers that were interviewed by the FBI after they were put away for their crimes.
Right.
And they've based a lot of their investigative tools and things that they use going forward and how they profile a lot of these guys based off of those interviews that they did. Specifically, Ed Kemper was one of those dudes. He loved to talk to him.
Right.
You didn't have to beg and pull answers out of him. He would sit and talk to you, and he's so matter of fact. And he was that way in real life, and the actor who portrayed him did such a great job of just being, he sounds like he's sipping coffee, reading the Sunday newspaper, telling you about stories that do not involve him, yet the story and the subject matter is him murdering a co-ed.
Yeah.
So
you wonder how much of that is, how much medicine they put these, individuals on. Or if it's that you're in jail, you're locked up, it's done. And at some point, the more days that you drift from the crime,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it probably on some level doesn't even feel real.
Well, I think they did a good job of kind of showing some of that because, and this is what happened in real life too. So you have Ed Kemper, who was always kind of a police wannabe. One of the reasons why he didn't end up becoming a police officer was his mother told him he was too tall, he was too big to be a police officer, so he didn't pursue it the way that most would pursue their career dreams.
Yeah, even though in the show the setup there is that the police told him he was too tall.
Yeah, and the thing though with Kemper, he was the type that he wanted to hang out with the FBI and he wanted to talk to him. So there was no problem getting information and answers from him. He was even very like accommodating, like, hey, if you guys show up, I'll provide the food so we can sit here and chat as long as possible. And then you have somebody like Jerry Brudos who was different. He wanted to sit down and play a game with them. He wanted to kind of tease them. And he was only going to give them information if they gave him things.
Right.
You know, if they gave him things in return and if they played his game. And he also didn't mind trying to upset the agents and the officers and try to piss them off.
Well, and I think that's what made Kemper different.
Yeah.
Is that he was interested in the conversation where a lot of these guys, again, I for whatever reason, I think Kemper did his crimes. They were done with. He was done with those crimes as far as his attachment to them. Mm-hmm. This is just my speculation. And I think these other individuals thought, hey, there might be one day that I get out. I'm not done killing. I'm not done doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And so now you got these FBI agents that want to talk to me. I'm going to use this to my advantage.
Mm-hmm. So season 2, here's what according to this article, Captain, here's what we're supposed to expect from season 2. So season 1 was 10 episodes.
Hopefully less sex.
They're going to shorten it to 8 episodes for season 2.
That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but here's on the upside, it says here that the Holt McCallany, Holt, I jotted down his name, I kind of scribbled it. He's the guy that plays Bill Tench.
Yeah.
Apparently he has told somebody in an interview that he's been told that they want to do 5 seasons. If everything goes as planned and everybody tunes in and watches, that the idea is that they will do 5 seasons of Mindhunter. So I don't know.
We need to get on this show.
I don't know. Does that mean, does it get shorter each year, or are they going to just base the number of episodes around what's going on during that time frame, you know, with the characters, what's going on in their FBI career?
Mm-hmm.
Because what it says here is things that we should expect are Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson.
Marilyn Manson's going to be on the show.
Tex Watson, which is interesting because they did reference Charles Manson in the first season.
Yeah, they did. I've never been that interested in Manson, though.
Well, I think Manson would be kind of like a peak moment for season 2. I bet you the way that I would guess that they would do this, they'd probably interview Tex Watson first and then Charles Manson second, just to build the excitement.
Right.
I don't know what order they interviewed them in real life.
And all they say in season 1 is you see a lot of this. This every episode you see random scenes of this individual, and they don't tell you who the individual is. And even when you look at the cast of characters, they just list this individual as a ADT serviceman.
Yeah, the ADT serviceman or ADT man.
Right, and we know him that's the BTK killer. We know that, through research.
Right,
but. So he's in season 1, but never speaks, and
I don't think they actually show him perpetrating any crimes, do they?
No, well, they show him a couple times where he's in somebody's house with duct tape and gloves on,
and nobody comes home, which happened. Like he gets all mad and he like pounds his chest and then he leaves.
Did he do that in the show?
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that BTK could be a part of season 2. Hopefully he's a part of season 2.
Well, that'd be interesting because I think what they're going to focus in on is the Atlanta child murders.
Right.
Which is very cool because they were super involved in that. Now, with it only being 8 episodes, I'm wondering how many episodes is that going to take up because they were there for a long time. We're talking about they were involved in the investigation, the apprehension, and the conviction
and you think that's
of Wayne
next?
Williams.
You think that's in this season?
That's what, according to David Fincher.
Right, one of the producers.
Yeah, he told Billboard magazine.
Well, hold on, producer and director. He's a director.
He told Billboard magazine that that the Atlanta child murders will be involved in season 2.
Okay,
and so I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of, because this went on from 79 to 81.
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering, because I told somebody, if they're going to be geniuses, right, have BTK where you show glimpses of him in the season 1. Do it again in season 2. Don't get into hunting for BTK yet.
Well, but if they're going to follow real life, then they actually won't be involved with BTK that much. Which is, I mean, it's interesting that
but he's in the show, so we know he's, unless they just like write that off completely, but that would be weird.
No. That's not what I mean. I don't mean that it's never going to be a part of the show. It clearly, obviously is. What I'm saying is, in real life, the FBI was more consulted than involved.
Right.
And so I think, if I'm just going off of memory here, I think that the first time that the FBI was contacted, and I could be completely wrong, but what I seem to remember is that the FBI was contacted and got involved and offered advice to the police departments back in 1976, which, and like I said, they had some involvement in and out of the case throughout the years, but it's such a long, lengthy case that, like you said, they could work in and they could show Dennis Rader committing some of his atrocities.
Right.
In season 2, they could show some loose investigative stuff in season 2, maybe not even until season 3. Well, I guess they would have to talk, if they follow the real life story, they would have to talk to the FBI sometime in season 2, because the Atlanta child murders took place after the first time law enforcement spoke to the FBI regarding BTK in 76. But with this taking so long, you could potentially not have apprehension of Dennis Rader until the final season 5.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what would make the show dope.
Right.
It's like, just keep him going through, and maybe that's their plan. I mean, if one of the main characters was saying in an interview they want to try to push this to 5 seasons, and here's what's great, is if you're doing like a show like, let's say, Friends or Seinfeld, right? You don't know exactly what the end is going to be. Right. Or when you're going to slow down, or when you're going to get tired of it. But if we're doing MindHunter and there's 5 seasons, here's the start, here's the end, you can manipulate it a lot more. Right. What did you think about the soundtrack to MindHunter?
I thought it was good.
I just want to give this guy props, because I really liked it. And he's new. He's actually pretty new to film. His name's Jason Hill. He did some stuff with the Killers, did some stuff with David Bowie, Robbie Williams, you probably know that, Jet.
I was and am a big Jet fan,
and New York Dolls. So he's done a lot of stuff in the pop rock world. But what's cool is his first film score was Gone Girl, which is a pretty big.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, we're going to give you a film score. Go with Gone Girl. We know it. And they knew Gone Girl was going to be a smash hit. And now his second composing endeavor is on MindHunter, which is wow. He hit the lottery. But hey, Jason Hill, if you need any help, contact me, Captain at True Crime Garage.
Hey, and I'm happy to just kind of sit there and listen with a clipboard, offer opinions, unwanted opinions.
Yeah, the Colonel, he will go get us beer.
That's right.
Chinese food, whatever we need.
So,
cigars.
They're going to have to get somebody to play Charles Manson, which will be interesting to see who they cast for that. And I know that doesn't really do much for you, but we know that
I just think he's a.
Yeah, but the interview is going to be interesting.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm probably going to get a lot of shit, but here's what I think. The fact that he didn't kill anybody. That he didn't actually physically kill anybody?
Well, he may have killed an officer or
Well, we don't know that for sure.
or one of the somebody that lived nearby. I haven't looked at that case in a long time, but no, I get what you're saying. Like he's and here's the thing: it's the people that are weird that have like some kind of, they love the celebrity of serial killers and the celebrity of murder, which I've never understood. This is not like watching slasher films. This is not like Freddy Krueger or Jason. These are not people to cheer on. These are not people to have a favorite of, or to wear a shirt that says, "Remember, kids, Charlie loves you."
Right.
You know, and I get what you're saying, but those people that celebritize murderers, that make believe them to be somebody special, well, that group holds Charles Manson in a high regard, and it's just annoying. It's just annoying because if you really wanted to set some kind of pecking order as far as these individuals go, you and I know from enough of what we've done and looked into, he's kind of just a low-level scumbag who's really good at conning people, reading people's emotions and feelings, and manipulating them to do his shit, and he's just kind of crazy. He's just kind of crazy and weak.
Right, but I actually don't think he was good at any of that. I actually don't think he was that intelligent at all. I think it was mainly during a time where people were using psychedelic drugs, and then he's the weirdo that everybody's falling around. I mean, I do find it very interesting, his connections with the Beach Boys and their management teams. The fact that Brian Wilson instantly said that there's something completely evil about this guy. And I think possibly Brian Wilson saw that stuff because he was on so many hallucinogenics and all that stuff. But it's like if you said, put me in here you got to go in a room and you got to, out of these 10 killers, you got to, you're going to be locked in a cell with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take Manson. That's fine. I would not be scared either. Like they go, you got to go in the cell. And I go, okay, it's Manson. Here we go.
Well, and from my understanding, Manson was pretty afraid himself. Like
I'd walk into that cell. I'd kick the living shit out of him. And then after he got back up, then I'd kick the shit out of him again. And then I'd make him sing me some of his shitty songs. And then I'd make fun of his shitty songs. And then I'd tell him how the Beach Boys hated him. And everybody hates him. And he's not going to get a record deal. And then I'd kick his ass again.
I believe he was allowed to leave his cell for, I think, 1 hour a day. And from everything I read and stuff that I found, he would usually turn that privilege down daily. And often he would only leave his cell a couple of times a month to do things like shower or whatever, because he was so afraid that somebody was going to take him out. Like the dude was really just a big sissy is all.
Well, and the problem there is because he wanted to be famous. So then when they shine the light on him and they're like, oh, Manson, he's crazy, and people started idolizing him, he started playing into that.
Well, and then
but by playing into that, then you get some real badass dudes that are like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker, and if I kill him, then I become famous.
Well, I'm looking forward to the interview because they're going to sit down on MindHunter and interview Charles Manson's character, and I think that's going to be interesting. It could be as interesting and weird as the Jerry Brudos and Ed Kemper interviews, and then they're going to have to get somebody to play Wayne Williams too.
Can't we have Ed Kemper come back?
Yeah, they would talk to him again, I would think, but
have him like on the phone where they could, because remember he was like, let's stay in touch,
right?
And it's like you could get it to the point where it's just like, even if it didn't happen in the books, even if it didn't happen even in real life, he's such a good character that you could just have him call and, hey, Ed, and just have him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have the last slice of pizza, fellas?
Well, the interesting thing that John Douglas says in his book when talking about getting ready to go in to interview Ed Kemper for the first time, that he and Wrestler were worried. They were a little intimidated to interview him, not by his size, but he had such a high IQ that they were not used to not being the smartest guy in the room. And Ed Kemper,
they know what his IQ was?
Well, his IQ was like insanely high. There's different reports all over the place, and I fancy John Douglas and Robert K. Wrestler to be very intelligent individuals. But for those two to recognize that they were not the smartest guy in the room during the course of that interview, and say that intimidated them because they were worried how he might be able to manipulate his answers and manipulate them in their research that they're trying to conduct.
Yeah. And I think the difference is, like I said, I think Ed was at the point where, because of his, I think he had a pretty high respect for law enforcement. And then on top of that, he had respect for the FBI. So I think if he didn't have that, then we're looking at a lot of different kind of information that you're going to get from him. But I think he genuinely had respect for the FBI. So I think he wanted to help him. I think he thought that, I don't know, maybe this does some good in the world. Maybe I'm giving Ed too much credit.
Well, no, but what's weird about Ed Kemper is this is kind of a weird way to put it, but he did what many psychiatrists, thousands and thousands of psychiatrists and psychologists have tried to do throughout the years. He cured himself of being a serial killer, but in the sense that he killed his mom, turned himself in, and said, look, I finally realized all these years I was just trying to kill my mom. Had I killed her first, I probably wouldn't have killed anybody else. You know, so what's so weird about him is he in a sense did what all these other psychiatrists and psychologists could not do for all these years.
Well, and then an interesting thing on that too, because, you know, you always have to go back to this idea of nature and nurture, and it's always probably a percentage of each, right? But you take some kid that maybe, 20% likely to become a serial killer, but his dad beats the shit out of him every day and molests him. Now that percentage goes up higher. And I think Ed, had this is just my gut feeling. I think Ed had a very small percent in his DNA and everything of him becoming a killer. And I think he had a very verbally abusive and mentally abusive mother.
Right.
And I think that destroyed him. And then you get the FBI coming in and talking to you, and they're being friendly with you, showing you respect, and probably giving him some kind of praise for the information they're getting. And so I think, again, then you go, oh, well, now I'm getting positive feedback, and this guy is so intelligent, this guy is going to bring more to the table than most people would.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to.
Do they have any other names?
No, that's all that they said for this. But but again, so 8 episodes, and if you try to break it down, okay, Charles Manson will probably take up 1 full episode. An interview with Tex Watson could take up the majority of 1 episode. We'll probably have a little BTK action kind of peppered in throughout season 2. And then I would expect the Wayne Williams Atlanta child murders to probably take up 3, 4, maybe even 5 episodes. I mean, that kind of fills out season 2.
And you think that's in 2? Yeah, okay.
That's what was said according to this David
director,
Fincher. Yeah, he said.
Okay, so then the question is, okay, you have to be in a cell with a serial killer. Who would you be absolutely freaked? Like, in 5 minutes, I'm putting you in a cell with this serial killer. No guards, no nothing.
Oh, I mean, there's a very long list of the.
No, but I'm saying like the number one that you're like, oh no, I don't know about. I don't
know. I'm kind of scrolling through the worst people to ever walk the planet in my mind right now. And trying to think.
You got to think size too, because like Bundy,
size matters. It does matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said. But I think, because Bundy wasn't that big.
Well, and there's some debate if he would have had the ability to kill a man. I think he probably would have. His lawyer said at one time that Bundy told him he did kill a man at one point.
Right.
But again, he has a type. You know what I mean? Like some of these dudes have a type, and they just don't break that type. Child
right, but
child
you're in
killers
a cell
don't.
With one.
I know child killers don't scare me. So you're asking me who would terrify me?
Yeah.
child killers don't scare me. Usually women killers don't scare me either. I don't know, man. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult.
You kind of put me on the spot.
Because even like Ed would be weird because of his size.
There's a guy that's not very well known, and I think his name is William Sapp. That is a dude that when you said that statement, that he kind of popped in my mind first without like really thinking and going through everything.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of popped in my mind first because I've heard interviews and read things with him where he was the kind of guy that like, you remember that old Megadeth thing? Killing is my business and business is good.
Right.
That dude, he just kills. He's just like a killing machine. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't care who you are, what you are. What if he decides you're dead?
You're dead.
You're pretty much going to die. And then who's the Iceman? I can't remember his name, but we discussed the Iceman at one point. He was more of a hitman.
Right.
That dude would terrify me. He's quite old now. If he's still alive, he might be dead. But he was kind of a large dude, and he was weird because being a hitman, he enjoyed the killing part of it. Like he was a serial killer that was getting paid to kill people, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's weird because you get in that cell. Let's just say you have to be in that cell. That doesn't mean that you have to fight this individual,
Right.
but also like your personalities could clash real quick,
Right.
and then you might be fighting this individual. And that's the because I don't think me and Ed Kemper would get along at all.
Which is weird because Ed seems like a person that might be fairly easy to get along with, but his size is so intimidating. I mean, he's according to Wikipedia, he's 6'9".
Yeah, that's
a
a giant.
Yeah, that makes NFL players look small.
He should have played if he had like a father that was like, hey, you go out and play football, boy. He probably would be like a professional football player.
All right, you asked me the question, so then I have to throw you on the spot. Who?
Well, the funny thing is I have a whole list of the guys that I wouldn't mind being in there with. Like, put me in with Bundy. I mean, I think I could slip a jab on him.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one from Tony Muncie?
Wickline?
Is it Wickline?
Yeah.
Where he put the head
on the nightstand?
On the nightstand.
Yeah.
But didn't they have like a bunch of issues with like transporting him?
Well, all of the officers were afraid of him.
Yeah.
And that's very telling because a lot of times officers and detectives are not afraid of these individuals. Even very nasty murderers, they're not afraid of.
Yeah, they're pretty badass.
This guy they were afraid of. We've had several officers tell us, like, I think that might be the most dangerous person to ever be in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this, and I've been trying to spread the word on this, and this is going to sound maybe silly to some people, but the big advantage, because somebody said to me, like, you get these guys that attack women while they're jogging or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their big advantage is that they know that they might have to kill this person.
Right.
And if you go into a fight, right, it's kind of like when you're fighting on the playground and somebody says, no kicking in the balls,
mm-hmm.
no choking, no poking in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have this like set of rules. But so people, this is what I've been telling everybody. If you are a runner, if you're a walker, a hiker, anything, carry a knife with you. Because if you get attacked, you need to be able to grab that knife and fight to the death if you have to.
Pepper spray. Pepper spray is good
Pepper
too.
spray is a
because
great
you
one.
don't have to engage in close. You might not have to be that close to them to spray them with the pepper spray. Sometimes
we'll carry a pepper spray and a knife.
Sometimes the knife gets you in trouble though, because it's close quarters combat, and then you end up fighting over the knife.
That's true, but but I think that's the big difference. And so it's like I think if you're going into a room with a killer, like you said, even with like the Iceman, like he knows how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it before. He knows how to get to that level. I think it's hard for a normal human to think that they have to defend themselves to the death. And I think that's the advantage that they would have. But yeah, I think Kemper, like just size wise.
William Wickline was his name.
William Wickline.
And he was, thankfully, he was killed by the state of Ohio back in 2004. But he was convicted of 2 murders. There's a lot of evidence out there to suggest he may have killed 3, 4, 5 people.
Yeah, they said that the state of Ohio killed him?
Yeah.
Because all I remember is them putting me in the cage with that animal.
Well, you said you might be afraid of him. I would be. I think he would be on my list for sure.
Does it say how tall he is?
Yeah, I think he was a pretty big dude, and I think that added to why some of these law enforcement dudes were afraid of him. I think he was 6'4".
Yeah, that's big.
But he's referred to as having a bull neck, which he did. I mean, when you see pictures of him, like his neck looks huge,
right?
And he's got pretty big shoulders, like. He's 6'4", but he's like one of these big shoulders, big neck, and kind of wiry after that. Like he looks athletic. He looks like he can move around. And I think that bull neck was extremely intimidating. Plus, he was not one of these dudes that appeared to have been like afraid of anybody. Like, I think he liked intimidating the officers. I think he liked saying threatening things to them and like staring them down and stuff like that. Like he was a real asshole, that guy.